Next up, we've got the Washington State Pay Transparency Law. Now, this page was a bit more complicated, and they've recently updated it to reflect the fact that it also, in the past, it also had the law from before. So, in order to get rid of the law from before that is no longer valid, they've updated it with the new law, even though it's been over half a year and it should have been done 9 months ago. So, here's the deal: in every posting for each job, there has to be a wage scale or salary range and a general description of all the benefits and other compensation to be offered to the hired person, the applicant, effectively. Purpose for this section, though, the really thing that's really important about this is for the purposes of this section, posting means any solicitation intended to recruit job applicants for a specific available position, which means anything that a recruiter who has been hired to find people for, anytime a recruiter is messaging online, that's covered, which means if they're using LinkedIn, that's covered. If they're using Dice or Monster or any other website, that's covered. It's explicitly illegal for an agency recruiter of any kind to violate this. Because what this does is it explicitly states that if you're a company, you have to be honest. Now, my other video about the recruiter honesty law is what I call it, or rather the hiring agent or labor agent truth law, as I call it, means that they can't lie. And so when you add it to this, because they're not allowed to lie, because this is requiring that they actually give that data, this is also requiring that that data be accurate. And it's kind of something that people don't think about because they look at this and they go, well, there's nothing in this law that says it has to be correct. Well, guess what? The other law says it does. And so the big issue there is that if you're willing to actually try to build the case that this does not allow it to be accurate, then I would just say you just go back to this thing. And at that point, you've got the entirety of the law that says that if you are an employment agent, you have to be accurate. So there is getting away around it. You are, in fact, required to put the pay range in the job description. And if you contact somebody through a LinkedIn InMail, you are required to give them that information in the message. You're not allowed to say, hey, I've got a client without saying the name. And you're not allowed to say, hey, I've got this thing. No, you can't be abstract like this. You have to give the actual information. You have to give the benefits, the pay range, all of that information under Washington state law. And so, because of all the recruiters that I know that are based in Washington state that explicitly refuse to follow this law, they are acting illegally. And so, if you don't want to be like them, follow this law because guess what? Software development engineers know when you're trying to take advantage of them. A lot of us have cybersecurity backgrounds. If you're not looking at this and following it, we don't consider you to be in compliance and we won't work with you. It's that simple. Because even if you can trick somebody into accepting a low rate, the low rates for tech are not going to be forever. This current depression is not going to stay around forever. So keep in mind that you're going to lose your best people if you do manage to hire somebody good by misrepresenting things, because they're just going to find out you lied to them and then hate you for it and then leave. So it's probably better for any company to just want to hire well, hire great people, and most importantly, be honest with people. Start the situation off right. Say, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing as a recruiter." If you have to, it's fine. That kind of humility is something that we actually like. The big thing there is that you're trying to hurt us. By lying to us about this, you're hurting us. You're trying to say, hey, we know other people exist and we know these other companies are going to offer you a lot more money, but we're still going to try to get you to stay with us. And you're still going to try to get you to come in under market rates because we value saving a little bit off the top more than we value you being happy in your job or you staying there long term. This is a retention issue. If you work in HR or if you have a leadership background like I do, this is a huge retention issue for engineers. This is not a matter of being paid enough. It's a matter of engineers want to be considered as valuable as their peers. If their peers are not making market rate, they're going to want to make more. And if they see their peers actively making more than them, they will want more. If they see their peers making less, well, that's a different story. But in this particular case, if you're not going to give out the salary range, then why the heck are you even trying to act like a recruiter? You're not a real recruiter because this is compliance. A real recruiter follows compliance. And if you're not trying to follow this compliance rule, then you're not a real recruiter. You're a fake in a recruiter costume pretending to be a recruiter, and you should be deeply ashamed of yourself. Deeply, deeply ashamed. Because what you're really doing is you're trying to be predatory. You're not working in HR. You're not working with all the great professionals in HR that actually care about people and understand the value that the employees of a company actually have with a company. Okay? You look at my resume, you'll see that I've done a lot of moving around, and that was because I was on contracts. Okay. I didn't have the possibility of staying around long term. And I knew that before I joined the team. My job was to come in, fix stuff if needed, find out who to fire, get them fired, and then leave. That was my job. My job was to clean house. My job was to go in and actively figure out how the company could make more money or actively figure out which employee was doing bad things. And as a result of that, I had kind of a cybersecurity background. And I'm also very aware of compliance. And so as a result of this, I look at this and I go, this is a violation. I should report this to my executives so they can get it fixed with HR. Because reporting this to external actors isn't going to help the company. Sure, it might get them in trouble and they might have to pay a giant fine because this is finable, very finable. In fact, it's very illegal. So once you get fined, you're now on a list and they check you from time to time to make sure you're still in compliance, which is one of the bigger things about being on those lists. So in this case, all you had to do is be honest and follow the law and you're good. But that's what this should be. You shouldn't even try to get around this law. Washington, California, New York, every other state that has a tech hub is having these laws added if they don't already exist. And they're all based on this Washington state law. Even the California law was passed after it, which means, guess what? It was based on the Washington law. So if you follow this law, you are going to be good all over the United States. You are going to be compliant. You are going to be in compliance, and you are going to have a such easier time because when I see something like this that's violated, the first thing I think of is, oh crap. It's just some random fake from India pretending to be a recruiter. Because let's face it, we all know that somebody in India can't legally have the work visa that's required to work in staffing, HR, recruiting, sourcing, or processing. So you just assume that you're fake and that you're actually external. And as a result of that, you're not trustworthy, you're not in compliance, and you can't be worked with. So keep that in mind.